And then the NBA, you kind of get to the All-Star break, and before then, it matters, but it's still multiple games a week. And with baseball, there's just so many games that unless you are a diehard, I think it's sometimes hard to be like, I'm going to watch.
Season is long.
Game.
There's no doubt about that. So it's Brewers and Cubs today at 2. Kristen Bry coming up in just a minute here. It's 12:57 on WTMJ. Got your business headlines and then the top of the hour news right after this.
Airfares in Milwaukee and nationwide get lower. Tickets for domestic one-way flights dropped nearly 12% in Milwaukee in the third quarter, and the trend continues according to Business Journal's research. The Target store that opened at Bayshore in 2021 is listed for sale at a price of $14.4 million. The property listing won't affect operations. Target has 11 years remaining on its lease. Aurora St. Luke's Medical Center embarks on remodeling its emergency department. The $4.2 million project gets underway this spring and includes private triage rooms and dedicated behavioral health rooms. I'm Rich Kirchen with MilwaukeeBusinessJournal.com on News Radio WTMJ.
Our mission is to protect and uphold our reputation. At Semper Fi, it's the banner we all march under, because the reputation we earn and uphold belongs to all of us. And without a strong reputation in the exterior remodeling business, you're here today and gone tomorrow. And when you've earned a good reputation, that's what makes the difference in value. It's the little extra that you get for the price. And that assurance is actually what counts the most, because it means the good money you're spending with us is not going to go to waste. A roof you can rely on, with a warranty that has a backbone, Craftsman quality airtight window and door installations, brick and stone masonry that's clean and sharp, and new siding that's been known to stop traffic. And it's all backed by a team that over the last 20 years have put a lot of heart and soul into building a reputation that you can believe in. This is Brad Youngluth with Semper Fi Roofing and Exteriors, your local, veteran-owned and operated exterior remodeling company.
We keep you safe, warm and dry, Semper Fi.
Do you love the simplicity and enduring quality of Scandinavian design? Then the Fjords factory-sponsored sale at Ken Michaels Furniture is for you. Inspired by tradition and built to last, Fjords brings the best of modern Norwegian design to your home. Save 20% on these ergonomic recliners and sofas engineered with comfort in mind. Available with manual or power options. Stop in today and save 20% at Ken Michaels Furniture on Capitol Drive in Brookfield, Highway 100 in Greenfield, or our downtown factory showroom. Save now during the President's Day sale at Ken Michaels Furniture. Special factory incentives make this the perfect time to save on a new sofa, chair, or sectional crafted by Norwalk Furniture. With over 850 fabric and leather options and over 100 different styles, you can create the look you want, and in just 35 days, it's ready for delivery. Can't wait? All our inventory is sale priced and ready for immediate delivery. Shop today and save at any of our Ken Michaels Furniture stores in Brookfield, Greenfield, or downtown Milwaukee.
The place you want to go, Lynch McWanago.
Nobody sells for less than Lynch.
Stay up to date with your trusted and relevant source in news, sports, traffic, and weather. We are Wisconsin's radio station. News Radio 620, WTMJ, Milwaukee.
At 1 o'clock, it is 20 degrees. Blustery and cold today, but some increasing sunshine, a high of 28. From the WTMJ Breaking News Center, I'm Wyatt Barmore-Pooley. Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell says he will step down from his role in congressional leadership in November. McConnell announcing his plan today on the Senate floor, saying he's been honored to serve his constituents for more than 40 years.
I always imagined a moment when I had total clarity and peace about the sunset of my work. A moment when I'm certain I have helped preserve the ideals I so strongly believed. That day arrived today.
McConnell is the longest-serving senator in leadership in U.S. history. He says he will remain in the Senate and the GOP conference will find his replacement in time for the new Congress in January. Despite it now being more than a week since 3-year-old Elijah Vu was reported missing in Two Rivers, a former police lieutenant says investigators must continue to assume the boy is alive.
We don't know why this child is missing.
Former Lieutenant Dr. Ken Harris of 1017 The Truth says all options for investigators remain on the table.
We don't know if the child was killed accidentally, killed intentionally, or was given away. Might have been sold. It could have been anything.
Harris also tells Wisconsin's Morning News that investigators must also consider the Hmong culture in this case.
What in the culture is driving discipline? What would they have done to the child? Would they have spanked the child? Would they have locked the child in a closet? Like, what's the norm?
Eric Bilstead, WTMJ News.
An increase in police presence in Racine County today, trying to crack down on reckless driving.
The Wisconsin DOT announcing they're doing special traffic enforcement patrols that will be conducted by the Southeast Region's Wisconsin State Patrol. The patrol is partnering with the Racine County Sheriff's Office and other departments in the area to focus on stopping risky driving behaviors that lead to serious injury and fatal crashes. The Wisconsin State Patrol says speeding, intoxication, using a phone, aggressive driving, and not wearing seatbelts are the main reasons for crashes. Julian Johnson, WTMJ News.
Time for news about your money. The WTMJ Annex Wealth Management Market Update. All in the red today. The Dow is down 51. The S&P is down just 3. And the NASDAQ is down 54 points. Get ready for your retirement and investment strategy review from a fee-only fiduciary. Go to annexwealth.com. You can click the Get Started button now. Sports, traffic, and weather coming up next. Sighting Unlimited, WTMJ News Time is 1:03.
True Chicago-style pizza is thin, crispy, and cut into squares. And thanks to Connie's Frozen Pizza, you can enjoy a true slice of the city. You'll enjoy it so much you won't even mind where it comes from. Connie's Frozen Pizzas are made from the same cornmeal crust Connie's has been serving for over 60 years. They're perfectly cheesy, perfectly saucy, and they're exactly what you crave. Get to know the true Chicago style with Connie's Frozen Pizza. Born in Chicago, loved by cheeseheads. Available in a freezer aisle near you.
St. Vincent de Paul, Milwaukee has expanded into our new 76th and Bradley Road location, where thrifters will find hundreds of bargains on everything, from clothing to furniture, electronics, home goods, and more. Our inventory is always changing, and new deals pop up every day. We're accepting donations too at our convenient drive-through donation area. Help us help others. St. Vincent de Paul at 76th and Bradley Road in Milwaukee is now open.
Ooh, you're gonna love it, St. Vincent de Paul.
It's time to say aloha to paradise. Picture powder soft sand, endless turquoise waters, and a frosty cocktail by a beach lounger. Fox World Travel is proud to partner with Apple Vacations to offer exclusive deals that will take you to your dream getaway. With great deals to Hawaii, Fiji, St. Lucia, or the best all-inclusive resorts in Mexico and the Caribbean, our travel experts take the hassle out of traveling to paradise. Visit foxworldtravel.com or call 866-GO-FOX-GO to speak with our vacation travel experts today.
Pick up the best wild bird food for less during our KT sale this week at Fleet Farm. Get 20 pounds of basic blend on sale for only $6.99. Save on a 35-pound bag of Birders Blend for just $21.99. Plus, we carry over 150 varieties of wild bird food, so you'll find something for every bird in your backyard. Save on everything you need for your everyday life at Fleet Farm.
Time for a WTMJ Sports Update. Afternoon baseball today for the Brewers, taking on the Cubs this afternoon in Arizona. Brewers' Pat Murphy touting the almost lost art of bunting.
Sometimes there's little things that you can do that just drive them mad, that you didn't have to execute a perfect swing and a great pitch. And it ends up disrupting them a little bit. So it's worth practicing if you can break down a number one just a hair. You know?
Murphy touting old-style National League baseball there. Coverage begins at 2 today on WTMJ, and after beating the Hornets by 38 points Tuesday night in Milwaukee, the Bucks heading to Charlotte to face the Hornets again on Thursday. It's deja vu for them. Taking a look at your roads, it's your Johnson & Sons Paving time saver traffic. We've got pretty much no major slowdowns or delays. Also no accidents reported up on the board. It should be a smooth ride this afternoon.
Traffic is sponsored by Hall Mazda Milwaukee. Visit hallmazdamilwaukee.com.
Be our eyes on the roads. Report accidents, slowdowns, and road conditions to the WTMJ Hall Mazda traffic tip line at 414-238-9329.
Time for the WTMJ 5-day forecast. Blustery and cold today, but we are going to see some increasing sunshine. The high's 28. Wind could get up to 30 miles an hour. Tonight, mostly clear and breezy. A little less windy, though. A low of 17. Thursday, mostly sunny and breezy. A high of 43. Much the same on Friday. Mostly sunny and breezy. The high up to 50. Saturday, still sunny, mild and breezy. The high all the way back up to 58. And on Sunday, we're going to hit 60 again. It'll be sunny, warm, and breezy. Right now in Madison, it is 21. In Green Bay, it's 18. In Waukesha, it's 21. And in Milwaukee, it is 22 degrees. I'm Wyatt Barmar-Pooley. Sighting Unlimited, WTMJ News Time is 1:07.
65,498 square miles. We've got a lot to cover, so let's get to it. This is Spanning the State. Here's your host, Kristen Bry.
Good afternoon. Nothing more Wisconsin than having all 4 seasons in a 24-hour period, huh? I think they make memes about that.
You know, Kristen, my 5-year-old looked at me last night, and he puts his hands on his hips, and he says, Daddy, I just wish the weather would make up its mind about what it wants to be right now.
And us too. All of us too.
We were vibing in that moment.
That is the voice of my guest co-host today, Dusty Weiss, who is the president of the podcast production agency Podcamp Media and former radio news journalist. So you're back behind doing some live radio. When's the last time you did live radio?
Oh, I think it was probably with you, honestly, but I don't get to do it nearly as much as I'd like. It's one of those things. I was just talking with Jessica Van Egren out in the hall here. She's going to be our guest later this hour. It's one of those things that gets in your blood. And even when you get away for it for a long time, like I have, my last stop in radio was at WIOD in Miami, Florida, which is a wonderful news town.
Wonderful news town, wonderful weather. Probably not 4 seasons in a day.
Oh, I hated it. I hated everything
really?
about Miami. Don't get me started on Miami. No, it was not my kind of town. Wonderful people I got to work with, but it turns out I need the 4 seasons to make me whole. But that was like 11 or 12 years ago.
Oh,
now.
wow.
So it's been a minute. It's good to be back in a place where the smell of burnt coffee and cortisol is thick in the air, and we can all just tell great stories and do journalism that matters.
Absolutely. Well, I'm so excited to have you here. I'm excited about the guest that you actually, this is the existing relationship for you, but at 1:30, we're going to talk to Dan Wegmuller, who about the decline of family dairy farms across Wisconsin, because not only is he part of the decline, it was as recent as this past weekend that he sold his herd.
It's not an easy thing for a dairy farmer to go through with, because you and I can look at each other and you can be like, oh, I'm a radio show host. Oh, I'm a podcaster. And that's like our career. But when you're a farmer, that's who you are as a person. And so
especially if it's generations of doing it.
4th generation, Dan is. And he's going to tell us all about the journey, how they arrived at the point where they felt like they needed to sell the herd. But he's also going to tell us about the pivot that they're making. What I think could really be the future of agriculture and our identity as Wisconsinites as well. And all just really, really important stuff about something that's critical to Wisconsin's economy and our identity.
And then coming up next, after the next break, we're going to be talking to Journal Sentinel reporter Jessica Van Egren about her 2-part story about the preventable death of baby Amelina, who died just 38 hours after being born. And it was a very treatable condition. And what the story exposes, I think, is that, and everyone should be aware of, is the fact that there are limitations in Wisconsin and what Wisconsin families have when it comes to medical malpractice lawsuits. Not because they don't have a strong case, but because the medical malpractice caps in Wisconsin are so low that law firms won't take these cases. And the story that she wrote is heartbreaking for the parents, but it's even more alarming as far as what you may not know as a Wisconsin resident. If something goes terribly wrong, that you, on top of your grief, also now have no recourse with the hospitals.
I mean, it was shocking to me, again, as a dad, because when you're in that moment and bringing a new child into the world, I don't have to tell you, you've been through it recently, you feel like you're at your most vulnerable just because you're so far out of your comfort zone. But you expect that the medical professionals around you are going to provide you with the best possible level of care to bring your new little person into the world. And this is very clearly a case where that didn't happen, and Jessica's reporting certainly shines a light on that, but also why that can happen and how that can happen and what can be done about it, I think, is where the conversation needs to go next. And so that's certainly something I'm looking forward to discussing as well.
That's coming up next. And then we have a short show today because the Brewers are on at 2. But coming up next, Jessica Van Egren. This is Spanning the State on WTMJ.
Hey, Eric Bilstead here from Wisconsin's Morning News. So you're thinking about hitting the gym, eh? Or perhaps taking up jogging again, but you're worried. That achy knee, am I right? And you have no interest in surgery. Call QC Kinetics now. QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in regenerative medicine. No surgery, no drugs, no downtime. So that means getting back to exercising, maybe even running, or even playing 18 holes again, pain-free. QC Kinetics offers an all-natural solution, no pain pills, and no risky surgery. Reclaim your mobility today. Fix that tennis swing or go back to the gym and know that you won't be dealing with achy joints afterward. Take action now and live your best life this spring and summer. Call QC Kinetics for a free consultation. QC Kinetics, 414-285-3474. That's 414-285-3474. QC Kinetics.
One of the most beloved novels of the 20th century comes to life at Milwaukee Rep. Chaim Potok's The Chosen, the captivating portrayal of faith, family, and friendship. In 1940s Brooklyn, 2 young Jewish boys share the love of baseball. As they reach adulthood, they must balance tradition and transformation, growing up and growing wise, and living out your truths, no matter the consequences. The Chosen is presented by the Milwaukee Jewish Federation, playing March 5th to March 31st. Get tickets at MilwaukeeRep.com.
Welcome back. I am Kristen Bry. He is Dusty Weiss, my co-host for today. And our next guest published a 2-part story earlier this month that reported on the death of a baby girl just 30 hours after she was born, her parents' inability to get answers from the hospital, and what their story exposes about Wisconsin medical malpractice caps. Jessica Van Egren is a health reporter with the Journal-Sentinel. Thanks for joining us in person, Jessica.
Thanks for having me.
So I want to be able to get there's so much to this story, and we don't have a lot of time with you, so I want to be able to get as much in as we can. So let's just start. Can you summarize the story with baby Emiliana and her parents and what happened with them when she was born?
Sure. So, yeah, that's a tough task. Just sum it up quickly. But long story short, I think they arrived at Columbia St. Mary's on September 18th. The mom, Karen, was considered high risk because of her age, and because she's anemic. So, I mean, right away, I think that more flags should have been raised. But essentially, the baby was born. She had poop before, she was born.
Which, until I was pregnant, I didn't realize that happens, that babies sometimes poop for the first time when they're still in the womb.
It is not like a very, it happens. It's not a super abnormal thing. So anyways, she pooped sometime in utero or in the birthing channel. She came out. She still had the meconium in her lungs. She developed a secondary condition, but both together caused respiratory issues. She was having difficulty breathing, transferred to the NICU, put, on a ventilator, given certain things. An attorney that reviewed the case didn't think that standards of care were met. So some things that could have been done for her weren't done for her. And then whatever it was, 30 hours later, she was pronounced dead in her mother's arms.
There were essentially things that could have been done to intervene that a doctor and a lawyer who reviewed the case and is expert in these things think should have been done, but weren't.
Exactly.
There were certain procedures that they could have done. And then at some point when things started to go off the rails, they think that baby Emiliana should have been transferred to Children's Hospital, which is better equipped with more equipment and specialized equipment in the NICU to
Correct.
take care of her.
Yep.
Do we know why those steps weren't taken?
We don't. And I guess that's part of the story that remains to be seen. And we did have all the medical records. So, I mean, everything that's in the story is from the medical records and from experts that I feel fortunate that I was able to track down that agreed to look at the records and then comment on what they felt was wrong. But you're right. I mean, when a child has respiratory issues, there's like, a standard of care. There's like a package of things that can be done to help them. And some of these things were done. She was put on a ventilator. She was given I don't know if drug's the right word, but surfactant. It helps loosen up things in her lungs. She was put on a feeding tube. These are all good things. These are all things that should happen, and they did happen. But I think where the attorney and his expert and the other experts that reviewed the records, where they say that the hospital failed in this standard of care, were two key parts of that standard, which were the inhaled nitric oxide and high flow oscillatory ventilation. So that's a different type of ventilation than just a standard ventilation. It's easier on a newborn's lungs. It kind of shakes them. The way the nurses I talked to described it, if you're holding the child and it's on this sort of ventilation, it's just like a constant shaking. But for some reason, that shaking is gentler on them. And that's why the attorney, in that one quote in the story, he said, it's like they're practicing medicine from the 1980s over there. Because I kept driving in on how easy is this stuff to get? Like, is this really that standard? Are we talking about something that is exceptional?
That's only at Children's.
That's only at Children's. And everyone was like, no, like this, if you have it, why wouldn't you use it right off the bat? Like, why weren't you just put on this immediately? And those are the questions that I sent to the hospital, obviously, and never got a response to. But, his quote derives from that. And then, of course, that sounds so inflammatory that really, like the 1980s? So I would take that, that's why I really wanted to drive back and get other experts besides the attorney's experts.
So we're left in a position now where we have to theorize why this child didn't get the level of care to which she should have been entitled, and I think we'll drive down on that a little bit harder here. But first, you mentioned that the hospital was not responsive to your concerns. As a former journalist myself, I can say, been there, done that. They cited HIPAA as a reason for not responding to your requests. Do you find that very often hospitals, when they don't want to be held accountable, just say, oh, it's HIPAA, we can't talk because HIPAA?
I think that it's a first go-to response. It's legitimate. It's people's healthcare records. And, if I'm a reporter and I want to write about any of this, you have to get the family to either sign over the records to you or just hand them to you, share them with you. But the workaround that came up in this story that our attorney for the newspaper recommended was for me to ask the hospital for a different form, which would allow them to talk about the family situation. And that had to be signed by the parents.
Which you did get.
Correct.
And they still didn't answer your questions.
Correct.
Well, and part of the story is also they didn't answer the questions that the family and the parents had themselves. But we have to take a break really quickly. Okay. When we come back, I want to get to what I think is everyone should be aware of, which is the medical malpractice caps and what recourse the family does not have. And so our guest is Jessica Van Egren, who is a health reporter for Journal Sentinel. He is Dusty Weiss. I am Kristen Bry, and this is Spanning the State.
Hey, it's Jeff Sherman. Businesses and communities are always booming in Wisconsin, and that's why I'm here to tell you about one of WTMJ's newest shows, The Upswing. Join me every morning, Monday through Friday, from 10 to 11 as I showcase local businesses, entrepreneurs, community leaders that are always keeping the great state of Wisconsin on the upswing. It's The Upswing, weekdays from 10 to 11, and it's right here on WTMJ.
AccuNet Mortgage is an equal housing lender. NMLS ID 255368.
Steve and Ashley heard our radio ads over the years, and when it came time to buy their first home, clicked on the blue button.
One of our senior loan consultants, Brad, sent them a credit-verified pre-approval the same day and then upgraded to a rock-solid, fully verified and guaranteed pre-approval shortly thereafter. They made a couple offers without success, and then Brad told them about AccuNet's new property-specific pre-approval, where we might be able to include those magic words, no appraisal required. When they wrote their next offer, several $1,000s over asking to make sure someone else didn't end up sleeping in their dream home, their property-specific rock-solid guaranteed pre-approval included that most powerful phrase, no appraisal required, and the sellers picked Steve and Ashley's offer over several others. If you think all mortgage lenders and pre-approvals are the same, think again. Go with a local mortgage lender that has the tools and know-how to help you win and save money too. Click on the blue button today at accunet.com.
Hey, boaters!
This is Dave Doro from Kendor Marine. And if you're a boater and you haven't been here, ask around. And I think some of your boater buddies will tell you you're missing out. Because at Kendor Marine, we have everything you need but the water. And when you get here, you'll know that's no exaggeration. So get in the know, because boaters in the know exactly where to go. Kendor Marine, 57th and Ryan Road in Franklin.
Hey, boaters! Cruise to Kendor Marine. We got everything you need but the water. Hey, boaters!
From fishing to water sports and everyday essentials like anchors and life jackets, along with an incredible selection of hardware, Kendor Marine is a boater's paradise. This is Dave Doro, and our endless selection of boating parts and accessories all but assure you one-stop shopping for all your boating needs. And that's why boaters in the know exactly where to go. Kendor Marine, 57th and Ryan Road in Franklin.
Hey, boaters! Cruise to Kendor Marine. We got everything you need but the water.
This is Matt Meitner, owner of Sit Means Sit Dog Training. Do you find yourself talking to your dog but feel like she's not listening to you?
Bella, sit!
Are you constantly repeating yourself but she's not following your directions?
Sit! Sit!
Frustrating, isn't it? At Sit Means Sit Dog Training, we want to help you have a happy, confident, and obedient dog, and we also want to make the training process an enjoyable and worthwhile experience. Contact Sit Means Sit today to schedule a free consultation so we can create a customized training program so you are able to have the dog you want and deserve.
Sit Means Sit Dog Training. Sorry, we don't train husbands, wives, or kids.
Welcome back to Spanning the State. I am Kristen Bry. He is Dusty Weiss, and we are talking to Jessica Van Egren, who's a health reporter with the Journal Sentinel, about her two-part piece published earlier this month about a baby who was born with a treatable condition and still died about 30 hours after being born, and what that exposed around medical malpractice in Wisconsin and what recourse families have when something like this happens in hospitals. And so as far as the unfortunate tragedy then the baby died, there was not a lot of response from the hospital to the parents.
Correct.
And so they started to try to find a legal route for recourse, right?
Yep. So they've been denied, I think, 7 or 8 times. And I think part of that was like the dribbling out of medical records from the hospital. You know, if you call an attorney with 19 pages of medical records, chances are not much is going to happen in addition to the caps. So
that's what I want to talk about.
The caps is the problem.
Did you know about the caps before you found the story?
I think maybe I had heard it during my days covering the Capitol, but not really. Actually, my coworker did a huge series on the caps in 2014, and I cited that in my article. And essentially what has happened is the Injured Patients Compensation Fund has grown to over $1 billion, and so the fund has continued to grow, and the number of medical malpractice cases has continued to decrease.
But let's explain why.
Yeah. So I think what's important to understand is that if you die as a result of medical malpractice in the state of Wisconsin, you're essentially not going to find. It's going to be extremely difficult to find an attorney. And if you're an adult who dies as a result of medical malpractice, the cap is $350,000. If a child under 18 dies as a result of medical malpractice, it's $500,000. So
these are caps that were instituted by the state legislature a while ago, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure on the dates, but these have been long-standing. So if you take the rundown that the attorney I quote an attorney from Baltimore, who is the one that found there was medical negligence, found the standards of care were not met, but then his firm found out about the medical malpractice cap in Wisconsin because Maryland does not have such a cap. And that's when they were like, you have a case, your baby is dead, but no one is ever going to take this case because to bring it to trial requires experts, $80,000 on the get-go, and then whatever money you get is essentially split between the law firm and the parents. And while it might sound like a lot to get $200,000 as an attorney from a case, that's not a lot. So, take that example and put it to if you're an adult who dies as the result of medical malpractice. You're working with a $350,000 cap.
Which is even less. And so even more so. So that's when we talk about the fund that's grown, the cases that have dropped.
Yes.
It's not because
it's not because
care is getting better. It's because no one will take these cases.
This fund is something that doctors pay into as a part of their medical malpractice insurance.
It is,
and
exactly.
If the fund isn't paying out to malpractice cases, it just gets bigger and bigger.
Yes, and I want to read you, I won't tell you who sent me this email after the story published, but it is an attorney in Wisconsin, and it speaks to exactly what you just said. So he said, those of us approaching retirement are told that if you keep your withdrawals to 4%, you will only ever, tap the gains on your savings. So if you're just, if you're just pulling 4% off the savings of that account, you're going to be fine. So if you apply that to the $1 billion in the fund could reliably disperse $4 million annually to patients and stay afloat. And the last cap I think is crucial to talk about is the $750,000 cap. So that is for non-economic damages, so like pain and suffering, loss of companionship. That's the one that has been challenged in court as unconstitutional. So economic damages in the state can be as high as anything. So if I survive, but I'm like paralyzed, I can no longer work, that's an economic damage. A jury can award anything for that. But if you die, it's a different story.
Right. We're talking about this because of the tragedy endured by one Milwaukee family and the loss of their child. And I certainly think that when these medical malpractice caps were passed, it was passed under the auspices of we need these caps in place to keep medical costs from rising out of control. We're in a position where lawyers won't take these medical malpractice cases because there's not enough money in it for them.
Correct.
And at the end of the day, it seems like all of these problems, the problems endured by this family, the problems of not being able to get anybody to take their case, all source back to the fact that money is involved. And so with the time that we have left here, I just want to ask, what can we do about it other than taking money out of the healthcare system?
Well,
can you answer that in 1 minute?
I don't know, but I can try. I think we can all do better. I think what this story highlights is that there are flaws on every level here. That's why the story was split in two. There's flaws at the point of care that impacted this child's life, and there was flaws in the legal system that is preventing them from getting any justice. And so, the only thing that could change the legal system is laws. The only thing that can change the system is an attorney taking the case and arguably fighting and saying they're unconstitutional.
Jessica Van Egeren is a health reporter with the Journal Sentinel. Sunny Unlimited News Time is 1:30. ABC News is next.
ABC News, I'm Michelle Franzen. After decades of presiding over the Republican Party, Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell now planning to step down from the leadership role later this year, telling colleagues on the floor today,
I'm not going anywhere anytime soon. However, I'll complete my job my colleagues have given me until we select a new leader in November and they take the helm next January.
McConnell did not mention his health, but says he turned 82 last week. In recent months, McConnell has experienced several health challenges, including a fall and frozen speech during briefings with reporters. A closed-door hearing taking place today. House Republicans questioning Hunter Biden in the impeachment inquiry into President Biden and his family's overseas business dealings. Wildfires in Texas taking a toll in the Panhandle. At least 500,000 acres burned so far in the second largest wildfire in state history. This is ABC News.
Citing Unlimited, WTMJ News time is 1:31. Former Milwaukee Election Commission Deputy Director Kimberly Zapata will go on trial March 18th on charges she fraudulently requested absentee ballots reserved for members of the military. The Journal-Sentinel reporting she's rejected a plea agreement. She's facing up to 5 years if convicted of all the charges. Reckless driving and speed blamed for a multi-vehicle accident Tuesday afternoon when Milwaukee police tried to stop a vehicle on 20th Street. They ran a red light at Muskego and Mitchell and hit another car, as well as a police squad car. The 24-year-old driver taken into custody. Potential retail partners have been touring the ground floor of the Couture high-rise. Partners at the Milwaukee Business Journal reporting grocery stores, salons, and restaurants are among the businesses that have toured the available retail space. Time for some news about your money. The WTMJ Annex Wealth Management Market Update still all in the red and getting worse. The Dow down 134, the S&P down now 13, and the NASDAQ is down 92. It's a great time for your retirement and investment strategy review from a fee-only fiduciary. Go to annexwealth.com, click the Get Started button now. Taking a look at your roads, your Johnson & Sons paving time saver traffic. Everything is looking good. No major slowdowns or delays. The WTMJ 5-day forecast, it'll be blustery and cold today, increasing sunshine, a high of 28. Mostly clear and breezy tonight, a low of 17. Thursday, mostly sunny, a high of 43. Sunny skies continue on Friday, a high of 50. Sunny and mild on Saturday, a high of 58. And on Sunday, it's going to be sunny, warm and breezy, a high up to 60. I'm Wyatt Barmore-Pooley, citing Unlimited. WTMJ News time is 1:33.
Meet Alan, who was diagnosed with sleep apnea.
I was what they call a mouth breather, and I would breathe at night with my mouth open.
And for about 8 years, Alan struggled with a CPAP machine. And then
I saw the Advent commercial, and I thought, well, what do you got to lose? This machine is miserable.
For most people, CPAP machines are miserable, but a simple breathing triangle solution from Advent can be life-changing.
And it really was, to me, it was amazing because I don't think I ever breathed that clear.
This is Dr. Madan Kiandula. After having one of Advent's simple breathing triangle procedures, people are amazed at how freely and clearly they can breathe.
I'm happy with the procedure. I'm very glad I did it. I wish I would have done it 20 years ago. I could have avoided that machine I had to have laying next to the bed with the hose wrapped around my head.
Schedule your appointment at adventknows.com because Advent knows when you breathe well, you live better. AdventKnows.com. Results may vary.
Losing sleep lately? The job, the house, the headlines, or investments? How about the feeling your investment partner isn't a partner at all? They might be operating in someone's best interest, but that someone isn't you. It's time for Annex Wealth Management. It's easy. Head to annexwealth.com, click the Get Started button. We work in your best interest as a fiduciary. That commitment runs so deep, we put it in writing. Does your advisor do that? Know the difference with Annex Wealth Management. Start at annexwealth.com.
Whether you're a local who wants to enjoy a night out or you're planning to visit Milwaukee, enjoy an artfully stylish experience at St. Kate the Arts Hotel. The hotel is ideally located in the heart of the theater district in downtown Milwaukee. With deluxe accommodations, culinary creativity, on-site galleries, and nightly live music, you'll enjoy every element of your stay at St. Kate. Book special hotel packages with room rates starting as low as $129 a night. Learn more and book your stay at stkatearts.com.
Welcome back to Spanning the State. I am Kristen Bry, along with Dusty Weiss, my guest co-host today. And a reminder that the Brewers are coming up at 2 p.m., so we have a short show, but still a packed show. Still a fun show.
We had a lot to talk about.
We had a lot to talk about.
Absolutely.
So my favorite T-shirt, I'm a big fan of funny T-shirts. My favorite T-shirt that I think I got from Urban Outfitters when I was a kid was of a dairy farm, and it said, Wisconsin, come smell our derriere.
Oh, that's a classic. That's awesome.
You know, it was because we are America's Dairyland. It's on all of our license plates, and yet dairy in Wisconsin is changing.
I mean, it's a part of our identity, right? One of my best buddies' wives has the old Wisconsin license plate, the dairy farm landscape tattooed on her forearm, which I still think is one of the best tattoos that I've ever seen.
That's a pretty good one.
But our relationship with dairy is what's changing in this state, because 50 years ago, there were 48,000 dairy farms in the state of Wisconsin. And today, that number is below 6,000. That's 46,000 dairy farms that have just disappeared. And both of my grandparents on my dad's side, they're dairy kids, right? My grandpa lived on a dairy farm. My grandma's dad worked on a dairy farm. But the generational shift that's happened since then means that fewer of us in Wisconsin have a connection to where our food comes from. And I think that's kind of sad. There was a survey that was done in 2020 that found nearly a quarter of small dairy operations in the state planned to close up shop over the next 5 years. And unfortunately, one of those operations belonged to Dan Wegmuller, a farmer from Monroe, who just sold off his herd this past weekend.
So this is fresh.
This is very fresh. And if you don't know farmers, it's not just your career, it's your identity as being a farmer. And so we wanted to talk about what these changes mean for Wisconsin's identity and what folks like Dan are trying to do about it. So Dan, thank you for joining us. A farm auction is always tough. I'm sorry you had to go through that. How you holding up, man?
Yeah, you know what? Thanks for asking, Dusty. I appreciate that a lot. By the way, beautiful setup for this segment. I mean, you could not have hit the nail on the head more perfectly as to not only what we're evolving into, but also how we're changing as an industry and also as a family farm. We're fourth generation. We just sold the cows on Saturday, so just a few days ago. And you're absolutely right. I mean, this is about as raw as it gets. I milked my last cow yesterday evening, and it very much felt like the end of an era, not only for myself, but the identity of the farm is going to change moving forward too.
Because I haven't spent a lot of time on dairy farms. I am a Madison kid, and I'm more of a city kid. But the time that I have, what I understand is even if you have a big herd, you have a relationship with each of those cows. It's not just kind of nameless, faceless cows. It's like you know each of them.
Yeah, Saturday's auction, we moved 60 head of cattle, ranging in age from milking cows all the way down to what we would call breeding age cattle, so about the 15-month age, something like that. And every single one of them, we knew them by name. We knew their bloodlines. We knew their families. As I was signing registration papers over to the new owners, to the buyers, I mean, I recognize names that not only go back to my childhood, but honestly go back to the dairy herd and the cow families that my dad started in the 1970s when he came home from college. So we're talking about a multi-generational spread, a multi-generational legacy.
So what? And this might sound a little bit cheesy, pardon the pun, but these cows are not just a part of your family, they're a part of the community too. I mean, there's a parade every year where those cows get led through downtown Monroe.
There's a cow parade?
There's a cow parade.
Yeah, every 2 years, actually even years. So this year is a Cheese Days year, and that is a tradition that my dad started in the early 1990s. We lead off this like multi-hour parade with cows leading the parade. And as somebody that had a chance to travel after high school, I spent some time in Australia, spent some time in Switzerland. That's a very old world tradition when the farmers would bring their cows down from the mountains and their summer grazing down to their winter housing in the valleys. They would parade, to this day, walk their dairy cows right through the towns of Switzerland, towns of Europe, and traffic comes to a standstill. People, of course, in this day and age, people are taking pictures and recording it. It's a very beautiful thing, but it's also a very real thing. I think there's a lot to be said to that because it forces people to connect with not only how food is produced, but also the people and the culture that provides that.
So what was the tipping point for your family to come to this decision?
Yeah, this was not made easily. I mean, this is a big decision. And a lot of families, as Dusty pointed out, a lot of families are going through this transition. It's not an easy thing. It's part of your identity. I'm a big believer in just taking a step back and sort of disconnecting, but also like looking at signs. For me, personally, it was time for me to step aside. For the last several years, we were trying to bring somebody in to take over the existing herd. It just wasn't the right scenario, wasn't the right circumstance. And so it was sometime in January. I woke up one morning. It was not dramatic. It was nothing like there was no major catalyst that forced this decision to happen. But it just occurred to me like it's either now or never. Economically, we were losing money. I mean, When I came home from college in 2008, our break-even point was very low. The economics of dairy farming has changed to the point that, I mean, we were down almost $100,000 in 2023 for a small dairy. So it's very much economic, and also, very much looking forward to some changes that are on the horizon.
When we come back, I want to talk more about the economics of how this works as far as what we think about family farms versus big dairy and big industrial farms. Our guest is Dan Wegmuller, and my guest co-host is Dusty Weiss. This is Spanning the State.
Our mission is to protect and uphold our reputation. At Semper Fi, it's the banner we all march under, because the reputation we earn and uphold belongs to all of us. And without a strong reputation in the exterior remodeling business, you're here today and gone tomorrow. And when you've earned a good reputation, that's what makes the difference in value. It's the little extra that you get for the price. And that assurance is actually what counts the most, because it means the good money you're spending with us is not going to go to waste. A roof you can rely on, with a warranty that has a backbone, Craftsman quality airtight window and door installations, brick and stone masonry that's clean and sharp, and new siding that's been known to stop traffic. And it's all backed by a team that over the last 20 years have put a lot of heart and soul into building a reputation that you can believe in. This is Brad Youngbluth with Semper Fi Roofing and Exteriors, your local, veteran-owned and operated exterior remodeling company.
We keep you safe, warm, and dry. Semper Fi.
Hi, this is John Neal, CPA, best-selling author and founder of the Neal Group. I have some questions for you. Who does your books? Hopefully not you. There are better things for you to do in running your business. Do you trust the numbers? Good numbers are critical for making good decisions. Are you getting the advice you need to minimize your taxes and put more money in your pocket? A good advisor makes suggestions to help your business grow and minimize taxes, not just put numbers on a form. Do your calls get returned and your questions answered? Many of our new clients tell us they love our quick response time. We have helped countless businesses increase their profits and lower stress. Get the advice you want and need to grow your business and minimize taxes. If you want to get started on the road to making more money and having less stress, visit nealgroup.net right now. That's NEAL group.net. The first meeting is free to see if we can help. Again, nealgroup.net.
Is your IRS tax debt making you feel anxious? The professionals at Allies Tax Relief are ready to negotiate your fresh start. Call them now at 800-230-5174.
Get a jump start on spring when Yater Benyamini conducts the Milwaukee Symphony Orchestra in a jubilant program of works by Ravel, Bernstein, and Gershwin, March 8th through the 10th at the Bradley Symphony Center. George Lee will be the soloist in Ravel's strident and jazzy Piano Concerto in G. Plus, you'll also hear music by two American icons, Leonard Bernstein's 3 dance episodes from On the Town and Gershwin's An American in Paris. Rounding out the program are Ravel's sophisticated and charming, noble and sentimental waltzes. Hear the MSO in Bernstein and Gershwin, March 8th through the 10th only at the Bradley Symphony Center. Call for tickets 414-291-7605 or visit mso.org.
Welcome back to Spanning the State. I am Kristen Bry, along with Dusty Weiss, and we are talking to family farmer from Monroe, Dan Wegmuller, who unfortunately sold his herd over the weekend. But the farm is not closing. The farm is not closing doors. We're going to get to that before we let you go today. But we wanted to still talk about the economics that most family farmers are dealing with right now.
Right, because again, I feel like Wisconsin is losing a part of its heritage when we lose our dairy farms. And if you look at the numbers, Wisconsin has lost 87% of the dairy farms that it had over the last 50 years. Just last year, 7.5% of the dairy farms in Wisconsin closed their doors. And I think that as city kids, we don't necessarily understand what's forcing these really hard economic decisions that people have to make. But Dan, as a small dairy farmer, you're essentially talking about a job where you work 7 days a week with no vacation days, no weekends, you're working long hours, and you don't have any health insurance provided as a result of that. And you're doing all of this work And in a lot of cases, you're only making $25,000 or $30,000 a year. It's a really hard way to eke out a living. And what also gets lost in this is the fact that the farm alone costs a ton of money. You know, acreage sells for as much as $10,000 an acre right now. So you're talking about, if you've got 100 acres, we're talking about $1 million just in the acreage on the farm, not to mention the equipment. A typical farm could be valued at $2.5 million. And if you're only making $25,000 a year off that, that's a 1% return on your capital investment. Not that farming is a capital investment, but tell me a little bit, I mean, just as a small dairy farmer, a fourth generation farmer, how frustrating is it trying to eke out a living looking at those kinds of numbers?
Yeah, so you hit on 2 points, and I can condense both of those down very, very simply because you're absolutely right. I mean, if you look at the statistics, if you look at the economics, you can't wrap your head around it. You're like, why would anybody go into this job that is clearly economic suicide? But it wasn't always like that. The only reason that small dairies are going out of business is because they're easy to liquidate. What's happening in the United States right now, I mean, we could talk for hours about this, but if we condense it down to its core point, what's happening to agriculture in the United States right now is exactly what happened in the Soviet Union leading up to World War II when farms were collectivized. Now we're packaging it slightly different. We're calling it something different.
What do we call it?
We're calling it bigger is better. We're calling it industrialization. There's a lot of outside money that is influencing agriculture
The foreign ownership of farmland is a completely different topic that I think deserves its own day to dive into.
Absolutely.
That was something I was unaware of until recently.
Have me back. Like I'm trying to sell myself here too. But no, I mean, I think if we condense it down, what is happening in agriculture in the United States right now is identical to what happened in the Soviet Union leading up to World War II, the collectivization of farms. So
because
you can see how that turned out.
In Wisconsin is steady. 1.2 million cows is the same amount that we had 10 years ago, even though we have so many fewer farms. The cows are being sold off to larger operations.
Absolutely. So the second point that you talked about that I want to hit on is why on earth would you do this? So what I can tell you as somebody who grew up, I mean, fourth generation on a dairy farm, I mean, it's not about the money. Like at the end of the day, you have to have something to show for it. But it's not about the money so much as, I mean, if you look at the time that you put into raising your children, if you look at the time that you put into something that you're passionate about, something that identifies you as a person, I mean, that's what we're losing as an industry. We're losing like that personal touch of it. When an artist sits down and creates anything, a masterpiece of any sort, whatever their pursuit happens to be, you're not doing it to clock time and get paid for it solely. You're doing it because it's an item of self-expression. That's what's going away in farming.
When we come back, I want to touch on what you are doing next because you are pivoting. You're not totally selling the farm. There's going to be agro-tourism, which is a term that is new to me. So we will learn more about that when we come back. This is Spanning the State.
Hey, this is WTMJ Steve Scavini here to tell you about my new show, The Political Power Hour. Sounds a little familiar, doesn't it? I sit down with experts from across Wisconsin and the country to discuss the issues that are important to you. We'll hear from political analysts, columnists, public safety professionals, journalists, lawyers, and more.
Politics is always about addition. And politics is also about momentum.
I think a lot of working families need childcare in order to make ends meet.
It's The Political Power Hour, weekdays, 9 to 10 on WTMJ.
Do you love the simplicity and enduring quality of Scandinavian design? Then the Fjords factory-sponsored sale at Ken Michaels Furniture is for you. Inspired by tradition and built to last, Fjords brings the best of modern Norwegian design to your home. Save 20% on these ergonomic recliners and sofas engineered with comfort in mind. Available with manual or power options. Stop in today and save 20% on Ken Michaels Furniture on Capitol Drive in Brookfield, Highway 100 in Greenfield, or our downtown factory showroom. Save now during the President's Day sale at Ken Michaels Furniture. Special factory incentives make this the perfect time to save on a new sofa, chair, or sectional crafted by Norwalk Furniture. With over 850 fabric and leather options and over 100 different styles, you can create the look you want, and in just 35 days, it's ready for delivery. Can't wait? All our inventory is sale priced and ready for immediate delivery. Shop today and save at any of our Ken Michaels Furniture stores in Brookfield, Greenfield, or downtown Milwaukee.
Imagine, if you will, a wonderland of vehicles. An entire convention center filled with the things you love to drive. It's the Milwaukee Auto Show at the Baird Center downtown, February 24th through March 3rd. Immerse yourself in the latest new cars and trucks. The Milwaukee Auto Show. For tickets, go to autoshowmilwaukee.com.
It's the last resort that comes with a grueling and painful recovery. And from what I've been told, it never really feels quite natural. A total knee replacement may make the pain you're living with eventually go away, but it opens up a Pandora's box of other possible issues. And that's why surgeons who really do care will tell you that it's a last resort. There are other surgeons who cry,
Replace! Replace!
but the physicians you'll find at Rejuvenex are primarily concerned with relief. And you may find out that the relief we give you helps so much so that you may not need to get that total knee replacement. This is Richard Salinas, registered nurse with Rejuvenex Arthritis Clinics. Our FDA-approved pain treatments aid inflammation and lubricate your joints. And in most cases, insurance has been shown to cover the costs. At Rejuvenex, we can alleviate your pain, and that'll rejuvenate your life.
Rejuvenex. Alleviate your pain. Rejuvenate your life.
Go to rejuvenex.com to request your appointment.
I know you have a great dog, right? But you know there's room for improvement. At Sit Means Sit Dog Training, we can help. Our attention-based training system uses modern technology to help you better communicate with your dog, even in high distraction. When you schedule a free consultation with us, you will have the opportunity to see our training in action and meet for yourself our happy dogs off leash and under control. Contact Sit Means Sit today at 262-361-3641 or find us on the web at sitmeansitwaukesha.com to schedule your free consultation so you can have a happy, confident, and obedient dog.
WTMJ, W277CV, and WKTI HD2 Milwaukee from the Annex Wealth Management Studios. This is News Radio WTMJ, a Good Karma brand station.
Welcome back to Spanning the State. I am Kristen Bry here with Dusty Weiss, my co-host for the day, and Dan Wegmuller, who is a Monroe farmer who has sold the herd but not sold the farm. So what is the pivot? What are you guys doing next?
Yeah, so we found our niche in, I would say, 2017. We saw the writing on the wall with the ag crisis. We saw what we've been living in agriculture for the last several years. I saw that in 2017 and recognized that as a small farm, we needed to pivot and we needed to make a change. And, the thing that I tell every single group that comes through the farm is welcome to Wisconsin, America's dairy land, the dairy state, where it's literally easier for you to get raw fish sushi than it is for you to recognize that there's a deficit of knowledge between how food is produced versus how people perceive how food is produced. We opened an Airbnb short-term farm stay rental on the farm with some unique opportunities that we had. Started hosting groups in 2018, literally at a time when we were facing bankruptcy and thought we were going to exit the industry out of force. And now here we are 7 years later. We are booked on any given 12-month calendar year. We're booked about 75% of the time. And in the tourism and hospitality industry, you understand how important this is. 65% of our bookings are repeat guests. So we have families coming back from Chicago, a lot of love from Milwaukee, a lot of love from Madison, but also international groups as well. We've hosted from all over the world. And so it's all based on a really fundamental point where, there is a separation between farming, how food is produced, and how people perceive it. And, the joke that I led off with in this segment, welcome to Wisconsin, where it's easier to get sushi than it is to go to a farm and get milk. Yeah, that's a joke, but there's a lot of underlying truth behind that.
We opened this discussion talking about how Wisconsin is in danger of losing its connection to the farm. When people come from the city and stay on your farm in Monroe, is that the new path forward for Wisconsin's identity as the dairy state?
Definitely there's an element of it. And the thing I want to underscore with that is we don't put on a performance. I mean, we don't hide anything. If we have a veterinarian call, we invite people out to witness it. But I do think more connection is essential.
Well, Dan, thank you so much for making the trip out here. I know that wasn't it was wonderful having you here in person. I feel like we could talk about this for many more shows, many different topics. But Dusty, thank you so much to you for being here today. This has been a great show.
Absolute pleasure.
Fast and furious, but I'm excited for a Brewers game.
Looking forward to doing it again and go Brew Crew, huh?
Kristen, Dusty, thank you so much for having me on.
All right, well, coming up tomorrow on Spanning the State, Dan Schaefer will be here, and we're going to talk about who spent the most money on lobbying in Wisconsin last year and what it got them. Does lobbying work? And then a Wisconsin-born NBA star turns 6 years old tomorrow. Do you know who it is? And do you know why he's turning 6? This is Spanning the State. Brewers baseball is next.
AccuNet Mortgage is an equal housing lender. NMLS ID 255368.
Steve and Ashley